Early in 1885, a 28-year-old Zelia Nuttall was on a trip to Mexico City in order to recoup after a divorce. While many might think that a divorce was the end for a woman in the 1800s, this trip would be the beginning of a lifelong career as an anthropologist, changing the way people thought of Mesoamerican history. Zelia was born in 1857 to a wealthy family in San Francisco. During her childhood, San Francisco was becoming an international city with a very diverse people. This exposed a young Zelia to different cultures and languages. When she was 8, the family of 6 set out for Europe. Over the course of the next 11 years, the family traveled to Ireland, London, the south of France, Germany, Italy, and Switzerland. During their travels, Zelia was being educated by a variety of governesses and tutors. All her time overseas sparked an interest in ancient history. But the unfortunate reality of being a woman in the 1800s kept her from pursuing this newfound interest. The Nuttalls returned to San Francisco in 1876. 2 years later, Zelia met a young French anthropologist, Alphonse Pinart, an explorer and linguist. He had been to Alaska, Arizona, Canada, Maine, Russia, and the South Sea Islands. Pinart may have led the family to understand that he was wealthy. In fact, he was almost penniless, having already spent his significant inheritance. They were married in 1880, and during the next year and a half, the couple traveled to Paris, Madrid, Barcelona, Puerto Rico, Cuba, the Dominican Republic, and Mexico. Pinart introduced Zelia to a burgeoning academic literature in ethnology and archaeology, and she began to understand the theories of linguistics. While Pinart dashed from project to project and roamed widely among countries, tribes, and languages, Zelia began to demonstrate an intellectual style that was more focused and precise. This, along with other things, began to strain their marriage. In 1881, Zelia experienced 2 devastating losses, her father and her newborn child. Zelia found solace in learning about her heritage when she and Pinart traveled to Mexico later in 1881. She was eager to see her mother's homeland and to hone her understanding of its pre-Columbian cultures. While Pinart carried out his own research, she began to learn Nahuatl, and she toured villages where dialects of the language were still spoken and ruins where the marks of the past could still be found. Not so long after, Zelia would sue for divorce on the grounds of cruelty and neglect. In between 1881 and 1888, when Zelia was finalizing her divorce, she set out to redefine herself as a woman with a vocation. She spent 5 months in Mexico with her mother, her daughter, and her brother between December 1884 and April 1885, visiting Cuernavaca, Mexico City, and Toluca, and exploring archaeological ruins. It was during this time that Zelia made her fateful winter visit to Teotihuacan and acquired her first artifacts. Scholars before Zelia hypothesized that, based on the facial features and variety of headdresses found on relics, the creators of such relics had migrated from Africa, Asia, or Europe, where other artifacts with similar features were found. This led many Western scholars to categorize civilizations as primitive based on their race or class. Zelia, however, didn't let these biases be reflected in her research. She sought to use observation over speculation. As she continued her research, Zelia reached out to Frederick Ward Putnam, the curator of Harvard's Peabody Museum of Archaeology and Ethnology and a leading expert on Mesoamerica. Soon after their first meeting in late 1885, Putnam asked Zelia to become a special assistant in Mexican archaeology for the Peabody. With guidance from Putnam, Zelia wrote an investigation of 3 different classes of terracotta heads, her first published scientific report, which appeared in the spring 1886 issue of the American Journal of Archaeology. Her observations allowed Zelia to challenge popular ideas about the supposed African, Asian, European, or Egyptian origins of the races in the Americas. Zelia continued to study the Aztecs, Maya, Olmecs, Toltecs, Zapotecs, and other cultures that had left their imprints throughout Mexico in magnificent temples, enigmatic statues, gold jewelry, jade figurines, and painted murals. This history was reclaimed by the Mexican upper class as a national heritage every bit as glorious as those of Greece and Rome. After her passing in 1933, other anthropologists were able to trace through her letters, articles, and books what she got right and what she got wrong as a scholar. She was wrong in some of her overarching theories, but she was right about many other things. Her new approach to the new field of anthropology helped shape it into what it would become, all from a woman rediscovering herself after divorce in a man's world.